I was underestimated because of how I look. But that night, I changed the story.
They laughed at her idea. They said it was too ambitious, too unrealistic, and whispered something far worse behind her back, that someone like her could never succeed. But when the investors finally spoke, every single person in that room froze. What happened next silenced the doubters forever. This is the story of how one Black woman turned rejection into triumph. And if you believe in standing tall against prejudice, make sure you subscribe and share this story with someone who needs hope today. Her name was Maya Johnson, a 32-year-old software engineer turned entrepreneur, living in Atlanta. She wasn't born into wealth. She wasn't connected to powerful circles. What she did have was vision. A vision for an app that could change the way small businesses reached their customers. Maya grew up in a neighborhood where opportunities were rare, but resilience was common. Her mother worked double shifts as a nurse. Her father drove a city bus. From them, Maya learned two things: never complain about hard work, and never let anyone else define your limits. By her late 20s, Maya had already faced rejection after rejection. She applied for jobs at big tech companies, only to be told she wasn't the right fit. She pitched smaller investors, only to be met with polite nods and cold silence. But this time was different. She had spent months perfecting her pitch deck, running surveys, and even building a prototype with her own savings. The stage was set. Maya had been invited to present her idea at a prestigious startup competition. The kind where real investors, the ones who could change lives overnight, sat in the audience. The hall was filled with other founders, each carrying dreams as heavy as hers. Maya stood backstage, gripping her note cards. She wasn't nervous about speaking. She was nervous about being heard. She knew the obstacles she was up against. Not just the tough questions about revenue or growth, but the unspoken barrier that had shadowed her for years. When her name was called, the spotlight hit. The crowd clapped politely. Maya took a deep breath, stepped forward, and began to tell the world about her idea. At first, Maya's presentation flowed smoothly. She spoke with confidence about her app, called Link Up Local, a platform designed to help small businesses connect with nearby customers in real time. She shared stories of mom-and-pop shops struggling to survive against big chains, and how her platform could level the playing field. But just as she began to gain momentum, the first interruption came. A man in a sharp navy suit. One of the judges leaned back in his chair and smirked. "This sounds nice in theory," he said. "But do you honestly think you can compete with billion-dollar companies? What makes you think you're capable of pulling this off?" The room fell silent. The question wasn't just about the business. The tone carried something heavier, a doubt not just in her idea, but in her very right to be standing there. Maya answered firmly, outlining her revenue model and the unique edge her platform offered. But before she could finish, another voice cut in, this time from the audience. "Haven't we seen this kind of idea before? Nothing new here." A few people even chuckled. She pushed on, refusing to let the interruptions shake her. But then came the line that stung the most. One of the panelists whispered just loud enough for the microphone to pick it up. "She doesn't look like the type who can run a company." The words rippled through the room. Some people shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Others laughed under their breath. Maya heard it, clear, sharp, and cutting straight into her heart. Still, she kept her composure. She finished her pitch, thanked the judges, and walked off the stage with her head held high. But inside, she felt the sting of rejection growing. Backstage, she overheard a few other contestants murmuring. Some pitied her, others mocked. And when the next presenter walked out, a young man in a tailored suit, he was greeted with warm smiles and encouraging nods. It was clear. Maya wasn't just fighting for investment. She was fighting against a wall of prejudice that seemed determined to shut her out. What none of them knew was that the real test was only beginning. As Maya sat backstage, the murmurs of the crowd carried through the curtains. She could hear the applause for the next presenter, louder, warmer, more enthusiastic than what she had received. Each clap felt like another reminder that she didn't belong. But Maya wasn't someone who folded under pressure. Instead of sulking, she listened closely. The young man on stage was pitching something eerily similar to her idea. A local business connection app, packaged with slick branding, but missing the depth and research she had built into Link Up Local. The audience reacted as if it were groundbreaking. Investors leaned forward, nodding, smiling, scribbling notes. Maya clenched her fists. It wasn't the idea they doubted, it was her. Back in the green room, a few contestants whispered. One of them, a woman with a polite smile, leaned toward Maya and said quietly, "You know, sometimes it's not just about the idea. It's about who presents it." The words weren't cruel, but they confirmed what Maya already knew. By the time the judges finished with the young man, it was clear he was their favorite. Compliments flew from the panel. Impressive branding, scalable concept. You're exactly the kind of founder we look for. Maya's heart sank, but then something unexpected happened. One of the investors asked him a tough question about user acquisition. The young man stumbled. He had no data, no survey results, no plan beyond vague promises. Still, the panel brushed it off with a laugh, offering him encouragement instead of criticism. The double standard was impossible to ignore. Maya's detailed answers had been torn apart. His vague guesses were applauded. The imbalance was sharp, and the audience could feel it. Some shifted uncomfortably. A few even exchanged knowing glances. Then came the break. A short intermission before final deliberations. Contestants mingled in the lobby. Investors whispered among themselves, and the crowd buzzed with speculation. Most assumed the polished young man would win, but deep down, Maya knew the truth. Her idea was stronger, her research solid, her passion undeniable. The only question was, would the investors see past their own biases long enough to recognize it? The atmosphere in the lobby was thick with tension. Contestants paced nervously, investors huddled in corners, whispering in hushed tones. Maya stood quietly by the coffee table, clutching her folder of research like it was armor. She could still hear the judges' laughter in her head, still feel the sting of their doubt. But then something strange happened. A group of audience members approached her. At first, she braced herself for more polite pity. Instead, one woman smiled and said, "I really liked your pitch. Honestly, your idea made the most sense." Another chimed in, "Don't let their reaction fool you. What you said resonated with people." Maya was stunned. She hadn't expected support, not here, not tonight. But the truth was undeniable. While the judges dismissed her, the audience was listening. Meanwhile, across the room, the young man in the tailored suit was being showered with praise. Investors clapped him on the back, other contestants congratulated him. To everyone else, the outcome seemed clear. He was the favorite. But then, Maya overheard something that stopped her cold. Two investors, speaking in low voices near the hallway, mentioned her name. "She has the data. She's done the groundwork. Honestly, her idea is more sustainable long-term." The other investor hesitated. "True, but do you think she can lead it?" That question, "Do you think she can lead it?" echoed in her chest. It wasn't about her idea. It was about her identity. Moments later, the organizers called everyone back into the hall. Final deliberations were about to begin. Contestants filed in, nerves high. The judges took their seats, faces serious, no hint of emotion. The audience quieted, leaning forward in anticipation. The head judge cleared his throat and announced, "After much discussion, we have reached a decision." Every eye in the room turned toward the stage. The favorite smiled confidently, already preparing to stand. Maya's hands trembled, her heartbeat pounding in her ears. And then, the unexpected happened. The winner of this year's Startup Innovators competition. The head judge paused, dragging out the silence. The young man straightened his jacket, flashing a confident smile at the cameras. Maya stared at the floor, bracing herself for the rejection she'd already felt coming. "Is Maya Johnson, founder of Link Up Local." The room froze. Gasps echoed across the hall. For a moment, even Maya thought she'd misheard. But then the applause began. Hesitant at first, then louder, stronger, filling every corner of the auditorium. The young man's face dropped, his confidence replaced with disbelief. He muttered something under his breath, shaking his head as if the result was a mistake. But the decision was final. Maya stood, her legs trembling, and walked to the stage. The spotlight that once felt like a weapon now felt like a crown. She accepted the award, blinking back tears. The head judge spoke again, his voice steady. We had doubts. Many doubts. But after reviewing the data, the customer surveys, and the groundwork behind this idea, it was clear. Link Up Local isn't just a pitch. It's a plan. And it's the kind of innovation we want to back. The audience erupted in cheers. Even those who had chuckled earlier now applauded, some even standing to show respect. The investors who had doubted her were now clapping the loudest, but Maya didn't just thank them. She turned to the microphone, her voice firm, carrying the weight of every rejection she'd ever endured. I want to dedicate this moment, she said, to every person who has ever been told they didn't belong. To every woman, every person of color, every dreamer who's been underestimated because of how they look or where they come from. Your ideas are valid, your vision matters, and you don't need anyone's permission to chase it. The hall went silent for a second, then thundered with applause again, louder than before. Cameras flashed. People stood. Some were even moved to tears. The young man who had been favored earlier slipped out quietly, his arrogance crushed by the weight of reality. Maya, meanwhile, was swarmed with congratulations. Strangers approached her, telling her how inspiring her words were. Investors who once doubted her now asked for meetings. And in that moment, Maya realized something powerful. This wasn't just her victory. It was proof that bias could be challenged, that prejudice could be defeated, not with anger, but with undeniable excellence. That night, as she walked out of the building, she carried more than just an award. She carried a message, one that would echo far beyond the walls of that auditorium. Maya's story didn't end that night. Winning the competition was just the beginning. In the weeks that followed, she secured the funding she needed. Her app, Link Up Local, began rolling out in pilot cities, helping small businesses connect with nearby customers who might otherwise never have discovered them. And slowly, the same people who once laughed at her pitch now celebrated her as a visionary. But the real victory wasn't the money or the recognition. It was the shift in perception. Maya had forced people to face a truth they tried to ignore. Talent, intelligence, and innovation don't belong to one race, one gender, or one background. Great ideas can come from anyone. Her journey reminds us of something important. Rejection doesn't define your worth. Bias doesn't erase your brilliance. And when doors close, sometimes it's because life is pushing you toward the moment you were truly meant to shine. Think about how many times we've seen people overlooked. In classrooms, in offices, in boardrooms, not because they lacked ability, but because of assumptions. Maya's win is proof that those assumptions can be shattered. It's proof that resilience, preparation, and courage can outshine prejudice. And maybe that's the lesson for all of us. The next time someone doubts you, dismisses you, or tells you that you don't fit the mold, remember Maya. Remember how she stood tall, how she refused to shrink, and how she proved them wrong with excellence they couldn't deny. So here's my question to you. How many dreams are you still holding back because of someone else's opinion? How many times have you let rejection silence you? Don't, not anymore. If Maya's story moved you, if it gave you even a spark of hope or courage, then share it. Share it with someone who feels invisible. Share it with a friend who's about to give up. And if you want more real stories of resilience and triumph, hit that subscribe button and join this community. Because here, we don't just tell stories. We pass on courage. We remind each other that no matter where we come from, no matter what barriers we face, we belong, we matter, and we can win. This is more than just Maya's story. This is your reminder. Don't let the world's doubts write your ending. Write it yourself.